Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Well, I'm a self-taught artist. I drew and sketched all my entire childhood, but I didn't take up painting until I was about 25, I guess, when I decided I wanted to start entering the Minnesota duck stamp competition. And after 6 years, and my sixth painting, and it was my sixth entry in the Minnesota duck stamp, it was going to be my last serious painting, I won the Minnesota duck stamp competition. And the very next painting I did was a submission for the Minnesota pheasant stamp competition, and I ended up winning that. So sometimes you wonder about destiny, you know. I was one painting away from oblivion, so to speak, and you know, sometimes perseverance is one of the best assets an artist can have. So right now I'm trying to complete the foreground here and establish the grasses and the vegetation before I start building the color up in here. Some of these areas are near completion. As the painting continues, I'll make tonal adjustments to them because I'm establishing depth in the painting. This one has got a wide range because of the dust that the Cape buffalo have built up. The storyline in this painting is these are two young male lions who've probably recently been forced out of their pride. They'll spend a couple years as nomads, and life is very tough for them. And it's an experiment too. In this painting, they've come to the conclusion that they've bitten off a lot more than they can chew. Going after a large herd of Cape buffalo is extremely dangerous business for them, and they're going to move on now. Now, some paintings have a lot less preliminary work than something like this, but with all the different elements, all the different individual animals, it requires a lot of pre-thought, a lot of pre-painting. You know, simple portraits, I'll just go simply right to the subject. If I were painting this male lion, I would just go in full color and attack it that way. But everything has to work. This is the third time I've painted these lions in, for instance, because of not so much size, but location of the animals didn't appear right, neither perspective-wise or compositional. So this painting is unusual in that it's about 2.5 years old. I put it down several times, put it back in the closet, and just recently took it out a few weeks ago and took another shot at relocating the lions. I'm pleased with them at this point, so I brought them up to near full color in the painting, and the relationship between them and the buffalo appears right to me now. Most of the time I'll start with a very rough pencil or charcoal sketch. Like I say, the more elaborate the piece is, the more preliminary work is. Sometimes there's more work creating the composition and structuring it than the actual painting of it. I love the oil medium. Slow drying process, when I first started, allowed me to experiment a lot more than, say, some of the quicker drying processes like acrylic or watercolor, which is very unforgiving. You get one shot and either it works or it doesn't. I've probably shot 35,000 slides of Africa already in my 10 trips over there. So oftentimes I do have specific things that I'm going over there to try to accomplish, be it subject matter, be it lighting, be it situations. With that in mind, always keeping an extremely open mind, just looking for anything new and exciting, which happens all the time in Africa. It's just a very dynamic place to visit. I never get tired of going over there. Most of these animals, especially the buffalo, are probably very close to where I want them to be. Once I complete the foreground, there may be some moving of subjects forward, pulling subjects forward or pushing them farther back into the dust. You can see two where there are oxpeckers flying through. I have not really gotten to them yet. They're still in the monochromatic stage. But hopefully I've got them at approximately the depth and the distance into the painting that I want them. Those will be easy adjustments once I get everything else in place. That's why I'm kind of playing them off a bit at this point in time. But what I like to do in my work, which I don't believe you see too often, is create a storyline, a situation where you may have to spend most of your life in the African bush in order to witness. So consequently, these pieces take a tremendous amount of research since I haven't necessarily witnessed them myself in Africa. And I'll get a hold of whatever information I can to help try to create a convincing piece of art in the end. Be it books, documentaries. I'll work from mounts, and of course I do a lot of photography over there as well, and all those different elements hopefully will combine to create a convincing piece of art. Lions are one of my favorite subjects. I probably painted them more than any other African species. I just think they're great looking animals. I like the muscularity of them, the athleticism of them, the thin skin, the structure of them. They're just a great subject to paint. I never get tired of painting them. Right now there seems to be a bit of separation between the foreground and the background, and I am keenly aware of that at this point in time, and I expected it. But hopefully as the detail builds up, that gap in between, you can even see this area here seems to work a little bit better with the background, and as I continue through, we'll fill the gap, the depth gap in between, and like I say, there'll be a lot of subtle tonal adjustments to bring the different elements into the proper depth of the painting. I always enjoyed wildlife as a kid, and of course I loved art as well, so it was just a natural marriage for me. And the complexity and the diversity of the wild world always keeps you excited. There's always something new to paint. There's always a different situation to paint. I'll never come close to even getting onto canvas all the different ideas I have just for my African art. I'll certainly continue to pursue the African subject matter. It's what I'm most passionate about, and if I could give a young artist any advice, it would be paint what you're passionate about. It's going to be your best work, and it makes what you do more enjoyable too. I personally never get tired of the subject matter, and I never get tired of going over there and seeing it in person. So I think that's solid advice for any young artist.
If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org. If you have segment ideas pertaining to North Central Minnesota, contact us at legacy@lptv.org. Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund by the vote of the people on November 4th, 2008.